Hello, welcome to the tutorial video about ABA compositions. This ABA composition is your final composition for Unit 3, and in this tutorial video I'm going to show you a couple of examples and walk you through how to create an ABA composition. Uh, so uh, Before watching this full tutorial, you should also consider reading through the composition outline. This document should have been handed out to you in class. It's also linked in Google Classroom if you need to look at it for reference. But this outlines all the nitty-gritty and sort of supports what we're going to be talking about in the video. So make sure you read through that. In this video, I'm going to show you three ABA compositions just to sort of give you some ideas about what the possibilities are with this composition. Remember, ABA stands for the different sections of the song. A is the first section, B is the second section, and then the final A is the third section of the song. Remember, the first A and the last A should be exactly the same. So two of your three sections are exactly the same. I always tell people that ABA compositions, you can think of them like a sandwich. You know, you have bread at the beginning, you have something else going on in the middle, peanut butter and jelly, ham and cheese, whatever your jam is, and then you have bread at the end. So the B section is sort of sandwiched in between those two A sections. Okay, let's listen to this first ABA composition. All right, so this is sort of the bare bones ABA composition. It's the minimum requirements. It's 24 measures in length, starting right here at 97, and then going all the way here to whatever this is, through measure 120. It's 24 complete measures. And you can see that there are three distinct sections. You hear it too. This is your first A section right here, these first 8 measures, and then the B section starts right here at measure 105, goes for 8 measures, and then the last A section starts here in measure 113. This first A section and the last A section, again, they're exactly the same. If we zoom in here, you can see that for the first A section we use 1, 1, 2, 1 repetition. I have the cherry 10 bass for these measures, and then cherry 12, and then it switches back to cherry 10. And the piano part does the same thing. 1, 1, 2, 1 here. Okay, and then if you fast forward to the second A section, you're to find that my bass part, cherry 10, does the same exact repetition. 1, 1, 2, 1, and then the piano part does the same thing. 1, 1, 2, 1. Now my drum loop through the entire thing is bread and butter, and it doesn't change at all. Through the A section or the B section, does no kind of repetition. It's just sort of straightforward, and that's okay. All of the change in this composition happens in the piano and the bass part. So that's the A section, and then the B section changes in a couple of different ways. So the B section changes by I use two different bass loops in the B section. So I use cherry 1 followed by cherry 3, and that has 1, 2, 1, 2 repetition into it. So not only am I using different bass loops, I'm using a different kind of repetition during the B section. That'll help create a little bit of contrast in between the A section and the B section. And my piano part is actually just the same loop all the way through, GOR4, and it just repeats the entire time. Again, that's different than the A sections, so it creates for the listener sort of a cue that, hey, something is changing. This is a different section. Uh, so yeah, that's really all there is to this composition. Like I said, this one's kind of the bare bones composition for A, B, A. You can go back and listen to it again if you'd like, but I'm going to move on and show you one that's maybe a little bit more complicated and a little bit more interesting too. So let me zoom out here, and here's the second one. So again, this uses ABA form, but you can see that the ABA form is a little bit different. First of all, it's a little bit longer, right? It starts at measure 1, goes all the way to measure 49. But you can see the shape uh, of the ABA form. This is my A section right here, and this is my second A section over here, and then my B section is a little small right in the middle. Let's go ahead and give this a listen. All right. All right. Uh, so you see that there was a little bit of an intro with that flute riff, and there's a little bit of an outro there with the flute riff as well. Just puts a nice bookends on the composition, and you have a nice little fade out at the end too. So I'm sure that you heard the difference between the A sections and the B section. I just want to highlight a couple of things here. The first is the use of dynamics to balance the composition. You can see here that I have the bass part brought up, and it's super, super loud. That's because the bass idea is kind of used as the main melody that has that walking sound to it, right? And that's kind of used as the melody throughout the entire song. And in the A section, it uses 1, 2, 1, 2 repetition. In the B section, it's just the same loop repeated twice. And then, of course, the 1, 2, 1, 2 comes back in the second A section. So there's that idea. And then there's also the idea, of this organ to sort of balance against the bass line. The organ is not really that important, but it just serves as kind of a foundation that sort of lays underneath the bass line. So listen to how these two interact and look at the dynamic difference between them. And I mean, you can hear that the organ is just kind of a background to the bass. It's just sitting back there and sort of supporting the melody line that the bass is bringing out. So when I listen to the song, I hear To me, it sounds like you're wandering around a city with no particular destination in mind. Maybe just going through towns that are interesting and looking at graffiti art on walls or something. But just sort of wandering around. Um, yeah, and it sounds a lot more interesting to me, a lot more engaging to me because of that texture brought out in the bass and the organ line, and because of the intro and outro of the loop riff here, or the flute riff, excuse me, here. So that's a second example of an ABA composition. Let's go ahead and look at one more example down here. You can see already that, whoa, where'd it go? Here we are. You can see already that it's a little bit more complicated. Um, Lots of small edits, lots of lines going up and down, but you can still see the ABA form, right? This is my first A section, this is my second A section, and this is my third A section. There's a little bit of an intro here and a little bit of an outro here at the end of the drum loop. Let's go ahead and listen to what this sounds like. Cool. So a lot going on in here. When I listen to this, it reminds me of my college days of studying really, really late at night, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and just sort of grinding it out there. But anyway, so a couple of things I want to highlight in this. Of course, the use of dynamics you can see in the synth part down here. I can show you the dynamic that it's always sort of breathing. It's going up, it's going down, and then here it goes up and it goes down again. So really intentional dynamic choices there. Also in the woos down here, you can see that the woos grow gradually louder. Let's give those a listen. Okay. And if you want to know how to do something like that, you'll have to watch one of the extra tutorial videos about advanced loop editing that'll show you how to sort of splice out those individual parts from loops. Now, yeah, so this loop right here, this is one of the synth loops that I use. It has sort of an atmospheric sound to it. Okay, and I use 1, 2, 1, 2 repetition so that sound doesn't really dominate the composition, and it's just sort of an added effect to it. So there's a lot of space in there, and it just comes in every now and then. Now I do have 2 automations on here, and if you were to listen to it with headphones, it would be super cool. The volume goes up and down, and I also use a pan automation, which moves the volume from left to right, and then left to right again. And you can see that it repeats exactly the same in the A and the B sections. The bass line is pretty standard through, just the same loop used in the A section and the B section, and then the 2 A sections, and the B section is a little bit different. And then the drum line is just the same. The drum loop is the same all the way through. Other than that, there's just some good arranging in here to highlight the different ideas and to bring out the different parts. So your ABA composition, again, the outlines, the requirements are outlined in this document. So make sure you read through that to understand sort of the limits of the composition. But good luck in composing your ABA composition.